entitled "How Do You Like Your Eggs in the Morning?", which was something that our corporate support manager had received a copy of and had been using with various teams around the library to kind of try and find a way to raise the profile of various services that they thought were being underutilised. We personally at the repository needed to revamp our image for a couple of reasons. The big one being was that the original repository manager at Warwick, Jen Del-Sal, who many of you will know, had got a bigger and better job, had moved on, and then the recruitment process to put other new staff in place, i.e. me, had taken a very long time. And then there was a certain case of upskilling and dragging our repository up by the bootstraps from ePrints version 1 point something to ePrints version 3, which was a bit of a step for us to undertake. So we had new staff, we had new services. The Vice-Chancellor had asked us to institute a publications service, which was going to act like a CRIS. It was a metadata-only publications list to run alongside RAP, the full text version. So we had new staff, we had new services, and we wanted a clear, concise message to start kind of selling the service to our staff. So the 7-step process took us through the first three steps are up on the slide, taking us through the initial steps of taking us through brainstorming where we were. Where are we? Where do we want to go? What are our key services? What are the real reasons that people should actually be engaging with us, and do they know about it? And also, who are we serving? Who are our customers, and what exactly are we doing for them? The key point here was to actually undertake SWOT analyses of each of these areas so that we could understand what the strengths we had that we could offer to our early career researchers, to our established researchers, to our PhD students, to the Central University Administration, to external users, and what were the threats and weaknesses we had around those areas as well. The key point with the customers being always to look at what they actually want and need, not what we think they should want and need. So the next stage of the process, this is a very whistle-stop tour. I have got the reference for the toolkit at the end if people want kind of more in-depth information about that. The next 3 stages were to start narrowing down this big, massive information that we gained about our services, about our customers, and moving those big areas down into an individual message that we could sell to researchers. So the idea being that we matched individual services that we offered to individual customer segments, transforming those services into exactly how they benefited that customer segment, which may be different across the customer segments, and narrowing all those benefits down into a single message. The idea there with the message was to use the ADA principle to create a single message that grabbed attention, sparked interest, provided an incentive or a desire to interact with the service, and actually prompted action in the user. In the end, we settled on Highlight Your Research, which covered the widest array of things that we were doing. But the work we'd done to create the benefits list in the second to last section there was actually giving us a way to create targeted messages to individual groups, so that when our communication goes out to early career researchers, we highlight the benefits that we'd indicated in those areas. So the final section was actually to get the message out there. The idea being there to raise the profile of both services. We didn't want to, just because the institutional priority was now the publication service and the ref driving and the metadata gathering and making sure we were complete and we had all the information, we didn't want that to subsume the work that we've been doing to create the open access, the full text side of things. So at the moment, the biggest challenge we've got is balancing that out so that we're not alienating people who don't like the idea of full text from not giving us the things we need for the publication service. But at the same time, people who do want to send us full text material, we're not marginalising them by the institutionally driven focus on the publication service. So the new service, the publication service, launched in May 2011 with our pilot department, History. We've since put in more than 1,000 items for the history department into the publications service. This is metadata only, please don't get too excited about that. The major launch that we will actually do for the publication service will be later this year once we've got the ref plugin, which is something that every head of department we've spoken to has been crying out for. One of the other parts of the communication plan that we'd put in place was to look at dovetailing our promotion of the repository with other services that were also promoting things at the same time. So I've been involved in a series of heads of department meetings with the deputy librarian to cover an array of topics, including the publication service, RAP, research data, the UPSRC, mandates and so forth. Also getting involved with our management information and planning team who are looking at ref planning and that side of things. Also getting involved with our learning and development group who are working with new PhD supervisors so that we can get all the information about what PhD students need to know about putting their thesis into their repository, into their supervisors more than 5 minutes before the PhD student submits. Which we think is what we've got at the moment. A lot of students are signing things that that I don't think they're entirely sure what they're actually signing in that case. So, as you've seen, or you may have seen when you came in, I've brought in a selection of our marketing materials on the table in the corner. Here's another look and feel at some of the things that we've been using. These, we will admit, we got a really broad array of things. We got a little bit of money at the end of last financial year, which is when a lot of people get a little bit of money to do interesting things. We got a little bit of money to put these things together, which we're going to use in a range of different situations, so that we can then work out what works and what doesn't. At the moment, the highlighter pens are proving so popular, I haven't been able to bring any with me. And as you can see from the profusion of pencils on the table, the pencils not so much. The idea behind the leaflets was to make sure that the information in them didn't date quickly, and was a very kind of general, very bullet point style kind of spot look at everything. So how are we using the materials? Obviously I'm giving them out in departmental meetings and any kind of training that we do with the groups. We're also using them as rewards for depositors. These are the spontaneous self-deposits, you know, the people who are actually getting up and submitting things without prompting from us. We do a lot of prompting in the team, and we get a lot of deposits from prompting. But we do get some enthusiastic individuals who submit entirely off their own back. However, there is there's a downside for the there's a caveat for the people who are getting rewards. They're getting rewards. They're also getting a few extra postcards and leaflets to put around their departments. We're also using them, using the postcards particularly as reminders following meetings. Because we've all been there, you go into your departmental meeting, everybody said, oh yes, this is a really good idea, we really like this. And then nothing happens. And we're using the postcards and we're sending them out a couple of minutes before a couple of weeks after the service, the meeting, and we're sending things forward to try and remind them. The standardisation of regular communication, again, this was coming from the fact that once we were actually looking at everything, we realised that we might possibly be giving 6 or 7 different messages out in same message, different phrasing, and tightening all of that up has helped us a lot as well. The new website look and feel. The library website has just had an overhaul, or the suite of library websites. And this is currently what RAP looks like. Not really the best. So this is the new look and feel we're hoping to install on our reprints service later on. So what did we gain? A clear visual identity for the repository. We're going to get very sick of the colour yellow over the next few years. In the 10 months, compared to the 10 months, April to present, we've seen a 49% increase in RAP deposits that we've made available. That's an increase of more than 500 items over the same period the previous year. The publication service increase is partially due to a giant import. Please don't think we've been that busy. We did buy data from Thomson Reuters to populate, and that's giving us the associated data cleanup issues that we're having to look at. It was an excellent team building exercise. 2 members of my team are graduates in art and design. 2 other members of my team are actually involved in our marketing department, our marketing team within the library. So it was a really interesting way to get a range of different viewpoints into the same place. Also, the documents I think are going to be really useful in the long term because of the kind of information we gathered in that kind of scoping exercise we did at the beginning. So the final message from me is that I think it's a really useful process, even if you don't have the money at the end to turn it into marketing materials per se. Don't think that's the only purpose of the process. So yes, acknowledgements to Kay Greaves at Sunderland for the use of her marketing toolkit.